Welcome to Southeast Oklahoma. I'm Lance. Yes, Dr. Ford, officially, whatever. Hey, you, I answer to anything. As long as when it's mealtime, you call me, I could really care less what you call me, quite honestly. So what I do is teach. It is what I've been doing for 27 years of my life. God, that doesn't even seem possible. I'm in a small rural community, Howe, that is the Native American word, H-O-W-E, in Southeast Oklahoma. We're against the Arkansas-Oklahoma border. And like I said, very rural. I'm the music teacher. I also teach online for our regional college. I had to submit all my students, and there was actually only one before it was all said and done that was a no-show for this spring semester. And then for Zoom, I get to work with educators like yourselves and folks who are working with educators like some of you guys. And I do that day in and day out to really help folks understand the concepts behind how we engage learners, regardless of where they are geographically. I've been privileged, and some of y'all might say nightmared, but I have been privileged to teach via live synchronous video for over 20 years. Way before there was a pandemic. The reason we use video is because we simply didn't have the faculty members to teach the classes that we needed to teach. And for some of us as faculty members, we wanted to teach classes that would absolutely never make due to low enrollment. And so what we did was we partnered with sister districts, and it allows us the opportunity to teach classes we're passionate about. For me, that's stuff like video production. I team taught Final Cut Pro like this, AP music theory, of all the weirdo classes to teach. Now, my PhD is in educational administration, but my undergrad and master's are both in music, and I'm passionate about it because I see what it can do for students when they totally get involved with music. Guys, that's the same thing that I see happening with these kinds of tools. We have multiple students graduating each and every spring. They walk across the stage, they get their high school diploma from one person, and then the next person down the line is giving them their college associate's degree, because we have students who are earning that associate's degree concurrently enrolled while physically still here with us, allowing them to play those basketball games, allowing them to play baseball, softball, and be a part of music events, but pursue that college degree. And for us in the state of Oklahoma, they're paying for the tuition. So the tuition is already paid for. The students aren't having to pay for it. They, being the state of Oklahoma, is paying it. And they are leading us one leg up because of amazing tools, Zoom being at the center of all that. Now, today's goal is really to be conversational, not presentational. My official title being Zoom Room Advocate means we're going to start with the concept of Zoom rooms. We're going to dive a little bit into that. But man, there is nothing off limits. You guys want to go down the Zoom phone route? We may take a stab at that. You may decide, hey, I want to go down and talk a little bit about what is Zoom doing with events, because we got coming up conferences and stuff for our state, or maybe we have a season of basketball coming up. We'd like to be able to broadcast that. What is that looking like? We may decide that you want to venture into the Zoom meetings client and talk a little bit about effective engagement strategies for learners. Whatever way you want to go, please let us know, because I've got folks who are manning the chat and grabbing my attention, grabbing me by the back of the collar and going, hey, Lance, reel that back. Let's talk about X. So are we good so far, Patrick?
We are rocking. You're on fire, sir.
Burning up in here. Hard. 11, I think it's 11 degrees outside in Oklahoma. It's crazy. Anyway, so for those of you who have never experienced Zoom rooms before, there's always a question that comes to mind, because people will say, well, Lance, we had this computer, we downloaded Zoom on it, we put a webcam on it, and we stuck it in front of the teacher. Is that not a Zoom room? No, it's not. And I'm going to tell you why. Because that's still Zoom meeting, and Zoom meetings, biggest difference, at least in my mind as a teacher, between Zoom meeting and Zoom room, Zoom meeting is still associated with that individual faculty member, where Zoom room is associated with a locale. Now, some of you guys are higher ed instructors. You're at colleges, universities, and things like that. And so you're floating to different classrooms periodically as your schedule unfolds throughout the day. Or maybe, just maybe, you've had to be on quarantine. You weren't necessarily ill, but because you came in contact or were in close contact with someone, you had to be in quarantine, and you need to teach your class back to the physical location where the students were together. Or maybe You've walked into a classroom to teach something. You got students here, and now we've got half the students who aren't physically here, but are joining us remotely because they're either ill or in quarantine. How does Zoom Room play into those scenarios, Lance? Well, come over here and let me show you. We're a Google shop. That doesn't make it right, doesn't make it wrong. You can be Google, you can be Microsoft. It works the exact same way, okay? But I'm going to bring up my Google Calendar, and we're going to start with just a basic calendar invite. We're going to call this the music class with Dr. Ford. And we can make this happen, you know, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Tuesday, Thursday, whatever. But we want to make this a Zoom meeting. I have a mail list. I'm not going to invite all my students so they'll wig out and start showing up. But I had my mail list, and then I go into rooms. Now check this out. Here are all the buildings on my campus, a little bit of campus here. I'm going to go in the technology building, which is where I'm at right now. And I'm going to scroll down and pick a room. This particular room has hardware in it by a company called D10. And I know we got some amazing folks from D10 joining us today. I want to say a huge thank you for allowing me to be able to use some of that technology in this presentation. But that D10 is the Zoom room that is inside my classroom. Now, again, come over here and let me show you something. The cool part about the D10 is it's all in one. So the monitor's here, the camera's here, the microphone's here, the speaker's here. I literally walk in the room and check it out. Music class with Dr. Ford. Dude, you just watched me schedule that 45 seconds ago, and now I've walked across campus. I'm in the classroom, and there it is. I may be wigging out a little bit because there may have been a teacher in here before me, and I don't know if he or she has been in close contact with somebody, and I just don't want to get germs. I don't want to touch anything. Well, don't worry about it. Zoom's got you covered. Watch. Hello, Zoom. Join the meeting.
Do you want to join the meeting?
Yes.
Starting the meeting.
It's a completely hands-free experience. Now, that entire process is as a result of integration directly with your calendar system. And for some of you, you're living inside the learning management system. You know, Blackboard, SHI, Moodle, Desire to Learn, Brightspace, Schoology, whatever it is. What I'm here to tell you is that you can schedule your meetings currently via that LTI plugin. And just around the corner in beta right now is the ability to drop down and say, and this is the room we're going to be in for this class this semester. I'm so excited to have Zoom Room become a part of that experience in scheduling inside the learning management system. So I'm going to end this call real quick. We'll talk more about these tools here in just a second. But Patrick, any questions? Scott, anybody out there?
Yeah, man. People are just enjoying it. We're watching.
Enjoying it or enduring it? I'm sorry. Go ahead, Elise.
Lance, one thing, I think you always do such a great job with the energy and the focus on education. You know, looking at all of public sector across the board, when you guys look at these types of solutions, whether you're looking at courthouses, police and fire, when you look at that kind of all in one unit, we are seeing them really be in high demand in those type of locations. So while this is focused a little bit more on the education front, you guys, there are funds out there. We have a grants resource that can help you find those funds, can work with your customers on developing what solutions look like, and that can help with the use cases and the driver. So Lance, thank you so much. It brings so many solutions to mind for me.
Well, thank you, Elise, for that. And I will say this, since we're harping on funds here for a second, anytime I'm working with an organization, one of the things we try to identify is what funds are you already expending that we might be able to look at how this tool could help with that process. So a couple of quick things that you may have seen happening behind me here. This is a Zoom room by NEAT, N-E-A-T, NEAT Technologies. This is a Zoom room over here by our friends from Poly. Those are two different form factors of Zoom room. But right now, neither one of those Zoom rooms are actually in a live video call. And there's still content on the screen. What the heck is that, Lance? Well, I'm glad you asked. That's digital signage playing when Zoom rooms are not in use. And check this out. There is no cost to you to use your Zoom room for digital signage.
Huge.
In fact, it is. It's huge, Elise. And that process of where do we find funds for a lot of folks is well, we're spending X thousands of dollars today in digital signage. Are you telling me that we could do digital signage without having to pay for that if we just had Zoom Room? I'll take it one step further.
Yeah.
You can have one Zoom Room. I bought a bunch of these guys. I don't know if you can see that box or not. Okay. It's just a little IoT, Windows IoT stick with an HDMI plug on it. Okay. I plugged that into just a regular old television, one in the gymnasium, one in the cafeteria, a couple in some lobbies, and that same signage that's running over my shoulder on the Zoom Room at no additional cost is now running on those screens as well.
Yeah. It's awesome.
So budgetarily speaking, this makes a lot of sense because you're starting to look at how Zoom Rooms impact the culture of your institution and not just a one-off tool for interactive video calls.
Well, and you bring up the point that you can use legacy gear as well as new gear cross platforms. It's a mix and match, which is so powerful in the industry today.
So let's get to that too. Put a comma there for a second. We're going to get to that idea of the legacy. Remind me.
I'll remind you.
Okay, some of you guys are thinking, all right, well, digital signage, we don't have digital signage. I'm going to tell you another way that Zoom Rooms helped us offset a cost that every one of you has. That's wireless sharing. You put in a bunch of Apple TVs or Roku Fire Sticks, or you bought, stop, okay, just stop with that. Because every one of your Zoom Rooms, even the ones, if you want to, that just have digital signage, support wireless sharing. There, I don't know if you can see it clear across the room. That says sharing key, and there's a 6-letter code there. You grab my phone off the charger. Right this second, if you got your cell phone with you, pop it up real quick. Open up that Zoom client you got on there, because I want to show you something. You may have never seen it before, maybe you have. Inside your Zoom client, across the top, 4th button over, says share screen. All right. So I'm going to press the share screen button. It now says, what's the sharing key? Here we go. I'm going to type it in just while you're watching. QFQ and AWN. Boom and OK. Now, it's been used for digital signage this whole time. But right this second, you see that screen coming to life. And you saw the Zoom interface there for a second. I now see start now. So I'm going to hit start. I'm now wirelessly sharing from my cell phone, which, by the way, is running on 5G. Get the focus on it. There it goes. Upper right-hand corner. We're not on Wi-Fi. Okay. 5G wireless sharing over here to this beautiful screen, all powered via that meat bar. Now, again, I don't know what you've done or chosen to do for your wireless sharing, but I bet it may not be quite this easy, because now I'm annotating on it and it's showing up over here. Mm-hmm. Look creatively at your budgets and how you're already expending money on a regular basis, and how Zoom Rooms might come alongside and maybe change the culture of the institution just a little bit. Elise mentioned something else really cool. I'll go over here to this poly unit real quick to show you this one. That white screen is a smart board. This black screen here, that's a Promethean board. This guy's circa 2013-ish, okay? He's been here for a while, Elise.
He's got long life in technology, boy.
Hey, listen, we count squares of toilet paper here on this campus. The teachers use. No, I'm kidding. We do count reams of paper, not necessarily squares of toilet paper. But
that's anyway. A long life for technology, though. I'll tell you what.
It is, and we have to drive it till it falls apart.
Yes, we do.
But the cool thing about Zoom Room is it comes alongside the technology that's in place and takes it to where we need it to go for these classrooms for distributed and high flex environments. Look, I took the USB-A out of this guy. I plugged it into the USB-B of this Promethean board, and now I am driving this unit via the touch screen that is the Promethean board. Yes, I'm starting and stopping calls. Yes, I'm muting microphones. And of course, I am whiteboarding information. And people will say, well, we can whiteboard for a lot of different softwares. Yeah, but when you're live in a call, how do you get this stuff to the people here in the room and remotely without you seeing the tops of their heads while they're taking notes? Right down here at the bottom, there's a paper airplane. I choose the email and everyone who is in this call is listed. Select all, out the door she goes. That's putting it all into a workflow that makes sense for me as a teacher and allows the technology to get out of the way and let me have a conversation around the topic, not the technology.
That is awesome. That is awesome. Hey, what are your favorite topics, Dr. Ford? If you don't mind, we do have one from the Q&A board here.
Bring it.
Our old buddy Jason Mobley has a great one. Dr. Ford, can you talk about teachers who are not tech savvy and are scared to use a Zoom room because they think it can be difficult?
Great question, Jason. So anytime I'm working with faculty members, the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to talk about how do you reach your learners today? How do you reach your learners today? Some of them will say, well, I basically stand up and talk. Okay, no problem. Your Zoom room can be scheduled because it's a shared resource so that at the top of the class, the Zoom room automatically connects. The camera does what this camera is doing right now, follows me around the room. I don't strap on any sort of device. I literally walk in the classroom. Zoom room automatically connects to the live engagement. And now I see my learners, I hear my learners, they see and hear me. From a recording perspective, what about those learners that can't be here today? Due to that plugin that we talked about a moment ago, that LTI plugin, we can set this to automatically record and automatically, if the teacher doesn't totally wig out on me, automatically put that recording as an embedded link inside the learning management system. So for a teacher who wants nothing to do with the technology, they can literally walk in, turn on the light, and start talking. Now from there, usually the next step is, well, I'd like to show a PowerPoint or a website or a video. Okay, I already showed you. Just grab that phone, laptop, smartphone, tablet, whatever, and hit share screen. And then you have the ability to share the content directly into your Zoom experience. Those are the two biggies that I usually have folks want to talk about is what is it like to walk in and get started? Well, let's do this real quick. Let me do that. Take this down. I'm going to widen out the camera shot so you can actually see what it looked like when I first came in this morning. I have to turn off the feature because it just keeps following me. It knows I'm here. Do this. Hi-ya. Turn off the light.
Oh my goodness.
We live dangerously in the Zoom world.
We do.
I'm
We
walking
really
in,
do.
it's first thing in the morning. Yeah, I'm walking across the room, and all of a sudden the camera goes, hey, Dr. Ford in the house, right? And away we go. That's the power of Zoom Room. There's nothing else for me to do, especially if we've set it to automatically connect. Now, I'll take it one step further, and then we'll field another question here. Sometimes folks will say, well, this is great to get it started, but what if I get in the middle of a situation and something's not working? Is this a who you're going to call a Ghostbusters moment, or is somebody going to come screaming down here to help me? What are we going to do to make this happen? Well, let me show you, for those of you who are the technologists on that side of the fence, inside your Zoom portal, you see all of your Zoom rooms. You can go down to any of those rooms. I'm going to go into this one called Neat Bar, and I'm going to click these three little dots. Can you see those okay? At least, Patrick, you guys built, you see that?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to go.
All right, I'm going to click those three little dots, and it says Launch Controller. Now, this is so slick. This is as if I am sitting in the room right now, okay? I'm going to start the meeting as if I'm sitting in the room, and you can kind of see it happening over my shoulder over here. I can turn up and down the volume for that instructor. I can mute or unmute that microphone for the instructor. I can start or stop their video. They can't see everybody on the screen. I can change their layout. They need to see the chat. What about starting recording? What about inviting someone who forgot to come to class? I can do all of those things as if I'm in the room. So for faculty members who just don't want to or are very uncomfortable operating that technology, their tech support doesn't even have to physically be there. That's the cool part about Zoom Room.
And across the board, I mean, it's one of the biggest, barriers that we've had with this technology in the past is that the people using it are really scared to touch the device. I mean, if they touch one cable, it's not going to work. And it becomes about the technology, not the communication, not the engagement, not the services that are available. This is taking all of that away. And we saw it in the pandemic. We saw people who were not tech savvy being comfortable with Zoom, being used to Zoom, and feeling like, okay, I can just, it's intuitive, it works with me. And that we have seen across the board in education, just a complete different mindset on leveraging technology. So it's compared to when you and I were running around in North Carolina together, Dr. Ford, 15 years ago, it's a big difference.
It is a big difference. And I'm so glad you mentioned the interface, because I know that everybody on this call has been in a Zoom call before. So when I do what I'm about to do, first thing you see are these buttons. This looks like the Zoom client to me. And when I get into a call, I have those same buttons that I'm used to having. There's my whiteboard button. I'm going to close that out. Here's my start recording button, manage participants, breakout rooms, camera control. All that is exactly like I would see inside my Zoom meeting. Now, camera control is a little different, because you're thinking to yourself, can I really control my camera in my Zoom meetings? We'll talk about that here in just a second. But all of these functions start the focus mode. For those of you who are doing trainings or teaching classes, guys, that's the moment of class where you basically go, all eyes on me. You can still see every participant when you're in focus mode, but they can only see you. They can't see each other. It's focused, right? So these are the opportunities that lie within that Zoom room. Questions, other questions, what do we got going on?
So one thing just for you to bring up, and I think it's important, you and I used to talk about concrete walls, you know, whether there was all glass buildings, and you know, there was a lot of chemistry around designing a room. Yes. When we look at the poly bar, the neat bar, and the D10, that has gone down dramatically. I mean, to a point where I think a lot of people who aren't, you know, constantly working with this don't recognize. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I can. Because, well, I guess the easiest way to probably do this. Patrick, what is the meeting ID here, my friend?
Oh, yes. Let's see if we can pull that up. We're in a webinar, of course.
Yep, I'm going to join this guy. For those of you who don't know what's going on right now, I'm about to join this guy into this call. So you can see it through the lens of just a single camera on a bar and what it could possibly do.
Sure, gotcha. Give me 1 minute here and I'll see if I can grab. Sorry, I was doing all the, I was jumping around. You know how that goes. Let me pull.
I got it, I think. I see 9, 3. My eyes are just too old.
That's okay. No worries. I'm almost there. I'm just going through my
8, 2,
yes.
5.
He's beating you, Patrick. It's a break.
I know. I was going to say, Bill, if you beat me to it, let me know. I on the webinars, I'm sorry to, I get the long strings of my webinars typically. If anyone else in the call sees it before. Oh, yeah, here we go. Finally, I got it up. 938-2705-0748.
I got it. Now you just need to promote me up to panelist, my brother. If you can promote me up to panelist,
you got it. I could do that. Absolutely. I got that. And I will grab you as well. Let's go to my panelists here.
Awesome.
Cool. And boom. All right. No, we like to live dangerously on the here we are. And you need your actual room system to go up panelists, yes?
Yeah, just hit me to neat bar to panelists.
Yeah, gotcha.
I did it.
Thank you. Gotcha. Yeah. Sorry, I had too many windows open.
Got it. We're a team here, Patrick.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Awesome.
Beautiful. Now you got me like a bad dream over here.
Perfect.
Okay. So to Elise's point, what used to be this is why I wanted to do this, right? There are more wires behind me than Solomon had wives. I would not even kid you about that. Look at all these monitors and things. You can go crazy if you want to, or you can do the wise thing and take all that down to a bar this size, a bar like this, the poly, or the neat, or the logi. Really, guys, it's about making it simplistic for you as an end user to deploy. Now, what I've done here is I've clearly deployed this on top of a smart board. And the reason I did it is so I could hit the whiteboard button. I'm going to go ahead and change the layout, and I'm going to start drawing.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, because you're in a webinar today versus being in a regular meeting, the only people who can co-annotate with me are the panelists. But in a regular class, in the meeting platform, I can let a student annotate. I can annotate with them back and forth. They can bring up a math problem or something they're working on. We might bring up a diagram and annotate on that. Somebody might be sitting on row 4 and wirelessly share something that I'm drawing on. This is the way this works fluidly for me as an engager of participants. Be that in the classroom, be that in the training, or be that in a corporate office. Okay. Now, let me close that out. Since we're over here, we're going to talk a little bit about some features. So I'm now 24 feet away as the crow flies, and standing in the door of my classroom. I'll get some of these things behind me in here in a minute. But what I want to do is I want to take the volume of my voice, this is my normal speaking voice, down to this. And I'm actually standing underneath a return air and air cycle that's blowing in. What's happening is the microphones on that particular device are triangulating where I'm standing and turning up the appropriate mics while filtering out the white noise over my head. So it doesn't matter if I'm close, if I'm far away, if I'm whispering, if I'm talking, the goal is to be there. Now, again, be right back. Don't leave me, Elise. Don't leave me.
I won't. I'll stay right here. But that's amazing. We used to have to hang cameras like 6 inches apart and measure them all. It's amazing to see the difference.
It is awesome because what you saw the whole wide shot as I came back in. And what the camera's doing right now is saying, hey, I see 3 faces. So it's going to frame this shot up on Harry, myself, and Elvis. Now, the cool part about having these 2 guys in here, I mean, this guy can sing in my choir. It's great to have him here. But this guy is tone deaf, but he does bring the magic. So that's why we keep having him in choir. That's the important thing. I'm going to start walking towards the camera because this is where my students are, but I'm usually maybe up front. As I walk forward, the camera says, whoa, that's way too much of Dr. Ford, up close and personal. Let's widen that shot out. Now it looks like Harry and Elvis are standing on my shoulder, right? This is where the magic happens with Zoom Room, you guys. I'm going to enable a great equalizer. I call it the camera democracy of my classroom. When I enable the camera democracy, you're going to see 3 different images from one camera populate into this call. You see me by myself. I'm labeled as neat bar 1. You see Elvis. Elvis's mouth is open. So neat bar thinks Elvis is talking, all right, or has recently talked. And then you see all 3 of us to give you context for what's going on in the room. Hey, Elvis, how are you feeling today? Harry, good to see you. You want to be able to see me interact with them in that 3rd shot. Guys, this is happening with one camera. One camera, 3 gallery images. This process of multi-stream or smart gallery is absolutely amazing. And I'll turn it back on for a second because what it was doing there while I was moving is really cool. Let me do this. Some of you are like, well, you know, we have to wear masks in our classes. Okay, let's put a mask on here. Get this thing strapped up.
So, and if
okay,
you
now
guys,
I've got my mask.
let me just say that. So you guys, if you look at the side, like if you're looking at the panel, you'll see they each have their own little square on top of the main screen, just in case they're not used to seeing that.
Gotcha. Oh, excellent. Thank you. I saw telequality bar popping in there. So now I've got my mask on. I'm stood up. Elvis isn't moving, but I'm moving. Again, one camera. That camera has now readjusted to find me, kept Elvis stationary, and is now reframing the shot with all 3 of us because this is where we are in the room. You guys, this is the power of a Zoom room. This is what it's supposed to do. It's supposed to get out of the way and let me teach and not be the topic of my music class. Questions, comments, what do we got going on, guys?
Outstanding. That's outstanding. Dr. Ford, I just had one that comes up a lot with certainly customers in this space. You know, we love the great new Zoom rooms from D10, Logi, all our buddies at Poly as well. What if I have a bunch of life-size room 220s I invested in? a couple of years ago.
Patrick,
I don't want to.
Patrick used to
Yeah.
work there, you know.
Yeah, I know. And that could have been a lot of expenditure on some of those things. They have great cameras, but can we still use those?
Absolutely. So that's part of the power of the Zoom portfolio. In this, and we can take it either way here. Let's start with, how do we bring one of those devices into a Zoom experience? It's a little process we call CRC. It's an opportunity to use a SIP call from one of those devices to actually call directly into a Zoom meeting. I don't know if you saw it a minute ago, but from the other camera angle over my shoulder, you see one of the devices here on campus is a Cisco Room Kit Mini, okay? That Cisco Room Kit Mini can join directly into this call with that CRC. Now, part of the power of the Zoom Room is some of you have other platforms that are SIP enabled. Your Zoom Room includes the ability to dial as a SIP endpoint into any SIP enabled conference or SIP enabled endpoint. So we can call directly into those other endpoints, SIP, where they are today, from SIP as a Zoom Room, and make that connection actually happen. I'm going to take it one step further just to open the can completely.
Loves it. Loves
Some of y'all are Google Classroom. Some of y'all are Google Hangouts, Google Meets, whatever the flavor of the day is with Google. Okay. We now have one button to push scheduling, interop via Pexip. If I have any of my Pexip friends out there, you guys are rock solid. I've got it here. And if you want to see it, I'll demo it to you someday. But what you basically do is, instead of making that Zoom Room in the calendar, like you saw me earlier, I just make a Google Meet. And then I get the blue button that says to join the Google Meet on my Zoom Room. I click it and I'm directly in. So multiple ways to skin that cat, Patrick.
That's great. Outstanding.
So you bring up Google, you know, we get tons of questions about Teams as well. And, you know, we definitely collaborate with Teams, and we actually can, you know, launch it from their Teams room and chat. And is there any way you can talk to that?
Absolutely. In fact, probably the best way to do it is, okay, I'm putting you to work, Patrick. Can you take down the spotlight on me? Can you flop the spotlight over from Neat Bar over to just me?
Yes. Let's take
and
it
while
here.
you do that, I'm going to bring up Microsoft Teams. Boom. All right, let me get logged in. Did not anticipate having this little part of the conversation, but hey, this is what we do. We make things happen.
Sorry. I got to keep you on your toes.
No, this is great. So as you can see, my chat from Zoom is integrated here. My meetings, we get signed in from Zoom, are integrated here. I can schedule, I can start again, since we're there now, my Zoom phone, not only my history of calls, my ability to make calls, my transcribed voicemails, but also my SMSs are actually inside my Microsoft Teams client. All of that is happening from within a Microsoft Teams area, calendaring included. So if I need to calendar, you saw the calendar up when I first logged in. If I need to calendar a Zoom meeting, or if I need to calendar a Microsoft Teams meeting and use the direct guest join feature from Zoom to join those Teams meetings, we can do that as well. That's part of the power of Zoom. I kind of sometimes say, you know, Zoom is a little more like Switzerland, right? We're here to work with everybody. We're not trying to build an island of just Zoom. We want to make sure that everybody can work together.
It's outstanding. That's
the power of that is huge. I mean, absolutely mind-blowing when you look at all of these people trying to navigate between all these different communication platforms, and how they're reaching out to have a way, however they personally want to do it, to be able to do it that way. It's so refreshing to see, and critical to them to be able to leverage this technology in the way that they're going to need to post-pandemic.
So now we're touching on something that's very, very near and dear to me, at least. So many people know the power of Zoom from the pandemic and the power of meetings in the pandemic. What I guess I would want to start closing this conversation down with is, how does Zoom impact the culture of your institution beyond distributed learning, beyond emergency, beyond pandemic. And I hurriedly mentioned phone there, but migrating that phone to Zoom means that I'm able to take the same phone numbers I currently use today, put them in the cloud. Zoom becomes my carrier. All my voicemails are transcribed. I hurriedly went over SMS, but I will say this from an SMS perspective. One of the biggest challenges when we went remote with learners is my teachers couldn't get the students to check their email. They had struggles getting them logged into the LMS for some of them. Listen, SMS became the lowest common denominator between teachers and students and teachers and parents. And unfortunately, in those early days, we did not have Zoom phone. So SMS meant personal cell phone numbers being exchanged with those people on the remote side. That's no longer the case. I can use the school's number as my source of SMS, identify myself to the learner, and not only have it where they don't have my number, but also have it where everything is documented, everything is covered, and I have the ability to go back and review any of those conversations at any time as necessary. We don't want to get into a situation where somebody's on a personal cell phone and being accused of X, Y, or Z. We want to be able, I call it CYA, cover your, we want to be able to CYA all of our employees and allow them, again, frictionlessly to work with their learners. So as you explore Zoom, I'm on one knee here, okay? Actually, on two knees. Move beyond the idea of Zoom meetings. It's a great tool. I'm not knocking it. It's the core of what you know as Zoom today. But really begin to explore how Zoom meetings, in conjunction with Zoom chat, Zoom phone, Zoom rooms, and very, very soon, Zoom whiteboard can really change the face of your institution. Be glad to have those conversations with you and show them to you one by one as you'd like to have them.
That's outstanding. That's great. Thank you, Dr. Ford. This is awesome. I want to give another shout out to our wonderful partner and co-sponsor SHI for any of the on the customer base side that are here. SHI is a great hardware vendor for all of the brands. Our awesome buddies at Neat, D10, Poly, Logi, and they can help outfit those that gear line for you as well. And then we can help with the great licensing too. So, and we have some great folks from the SHI UC team as well. They're experts on the platform and the hardware as well. So they're there to help too, certainly too. And then a lot of our folks from our great hardware partners joined us as well. So thank you. Any other questions out there? Anything we missed? I think you gave a nice compact session. I mean, DeFord, you're just, you know how to do it.
If we have like 2 minutes, would you mind showing them? I just have one request: emergency notification and how you guys do it at that school. I mean, it is so amazingly powerful compared to what we used to have to deal with across any organization, but especially public sector. You know, there are very specific rules that you need to follow. And, you know, as we've had more, you know, violence and concerns throughout public buildings and schools, the power of this is incredible.
Okay, so
since we didn't get questions,
this
would be a cool thing to show.
This is going to, I'm going to do several things here as a part of this. One of the first things I'm going to do, just for a split second, because I'm one of those guys that's really a show it to you. I can't just talk about stuff. I've worked with too many learners for too long. So I want to show you what I'm actually going to be using as a part of this. This is what's called a Zoom phone appliance. Now you can have just a regular looking Zoom phone if you want, but this is a Zoom phone appliance. You see it has a handset, right? You can hear it has a dial tone, right? There's the number where I can dial. But I also, because this Zoom phone appliance is associated with me, I have the ability to have my entire calendar here. I can start that class we scheduled earlier right here. I've got the ability, once that class is scheduled, fire off the camera on this little guy. I can bring up a whiteboard. I can write. Okay, I'm showing you this to say, this is sort of the bridge between phone and 911 and what we know of from Zoom and Zoom rooms. So I'm not going to do a 911. I'm going to do a 933 just to test. And you can hear a phone in the background starting to ring. You can also hear the, you also see up here that it's detected my location based on where the device is.
Yep.
Okay. So when we start to transition to that phone that's ringing right now, that's actually for the security officer. I'm on that team as well. And they have the ability to pick up that phone and A, listen into the 911 call, but B, if they are en route, if they're physically down the hall, they've got their smartphone with them in the Zoom app, they're listening. They have the ability to barge into the 911 and to let them know, hey, we're right here. We're just outside the door. We're about to come, or whatever the situation needs to be. Okay. Simultaneously to that, here's my Zoom client. Here's my home area. Here's chat. A new chat has just popped in here. There was an emergency call. It came from this particular person. It was on this caller ID. Here's the date, time. Here's where it was. And yes, here's the IP address, because we know where those IP addresses are and those MAC addresses are on our network. I have the ability at that point to go in and say, I need to send out a message. And I'm not going to send this out, it'll wig everybody out. This is a test. All right, we hit save. Within there, all my Zoom rooms are organized by campus, by building, by floor. Now, again, I'm not going to hit the send button for right now. But this, at that point, if that Zoom room were in a call, or if that Zoom room were in a message, or that Zoom room were in digital signage, it would overwrite the content of the screen and with a big orange splash screen and put in whatever I had typed. Just that fast. So Zoom Phone helps me signal it. Zoom Phone helps me respond to it. Zoom Phone with Zoom Meeting helped me know that where it was and gave me an opportunity to lock all the signage in that particular building all the way down to the floor level. Just that fast. That's the way the Zoom ecosystem impacts your culture beyond just a Zoom meeting.
Appreciate it. I think we're good.
Thanks everybody for
Thank you for joining us. Really appreciate it.
Channel team. Thanks, SHI.
Thank you guys. See you soon.
Stay healthy.
Bye-bye.
Bye.